Robert Young here, and a lot of people know me for my street photography. Lately I've been thinking about Australian street photography and how most of the images that we're familiar with are from Sydney or Melbourne, even though there's photographers in the other cities who are quite good and quite talented. So I thought maybe it's time to speak with some Brisbane street photographers to get their take on the subject. So I've decided to speak with Ben Ryan, Nola Macaulay and Paul Cook. Let's see what they have to say.
I think street photography is kind of the ultimate challenge in photography for me. I've done other types of photography, all of which have their charms and are wonderful, but street photography is just cool, you know. It's just so unexpected, like the stuff that happens. You just go out there and just, you know, anything could happen. Yeah, there's just nothing controllable about it. That's what I like. It's like the Wild West, you know, of photography.
Whenever I went travelling, I just loved taking photos of the characters and the people that you'd see in the streets, which I didn't do in Australia really. So it's kind of that, and then I guess as I got to know a little bit more about street photography, it was more the challenge, like looking for colours or looking for patterns, looking for quirky things in shadows, or just quirky mixes of people. So it just kind of made, I suppose, a mundane or a boring environment kind of interesting and challenging, and when you get something really good, it just gives you a buzz. It can keep you occupied for hours, and yeah, I suppose it's kind of that, just that buzz that you get from seeing something, and yeah.
So yeah, I just like the street. It's very convenient is probably the other thing, is because most of my street is actually done from when I leave public transport to when I get to work. So I might have an opportunity of 10 or 15 minutes is my total shooting time, and I sort of set myself a goal to do that and capture an image in those few minutes. Sometimes it doesn't work because maybe the light or something is not working, but it's a very narrow or a very short window of opportunity that I work with, and it's a very narrow range that I work with as well. So pretty much 2 city blocks is my range, and to do something with those 2 city blocks, yeah. So I just enjoy that challenge a little bit, and the creative side, which I don't do at work so much. So yeah, that's really why I like street photography. I like the people, and it's convenient as well, yeah.
Brisbane has its challenges, and hopefully that's what makes you a better photographer. That's what I keep telling myself anyway. There's not as many people in Brisbane as, you know, some of the other major cities. Perhaps some of the architecture isn't as inspiring in some ways. So yeah, I think it's not, your probably volume of good shots might not be as large as if you're in, say, Sydney or Melbourne, but at the end of the day, I think it just boils down to you've just got to enjoy the process of being out there and taking the photos, and you know, overall I think I would rate the difficulty as high to take good street photos in Brisbane.
I guess there's definitely more in Sydney. When I was in there, like, I guess lots more people, lots of different places to take photos. In Brisbane, maybe the challenge is just being brave enough. Can't be as anonymous. There's not always people around.
Well, I personally find for street photography, for me, winter is just absolutely fantastic. I think the light's great. The light runs from down all the female street names, so any of those who know Brisbane really well, the female streets run one way and the male streets run another way. So in winter, all the female streets light up, and for me that's the perfect time to do photography. Summer, just too hot. The sun's overhead a lot. fair bit of cloud can happen as well. So I tend to go for more slow shutter speed, movements. Yeah, so I try and compensate for the conditions, but definitely winter. I love winter for street shooting in Brisbane.
I've had one or two. I had a lady, she was walking with another lady in amazingly brightly coloured dresses, and I just wanted to get a photo. So I got in front of them and took the photo, and she came after me really aggressively and was like, "What are you doing? Get rid of that photo, delete it." So I was really kind of surprised, because I thought wearing a bright colourful dress she might be a bit more sunny of character. And another guy came up to me, and I guess it was I think it's sometimes the way you respond, because he came up to me and said, "Will you taking a photo of me?" And I just responded, "Yeah, there's a whole group of us, we're doing a street photography course, it's really great." And then he just walked away. So yeah, maybe it's how you respond sometimes.
I've got my camera to my eye. I don't do stealth shooting. Everyone knows what I'm doing. But having the camera at my eye, I get very little pushback, and most people are just saying, "Sorry, I got in your shot." They don't actually realise they were my shot. So I find it really quite cool. Yeah. So. No problems as yet.
I think there's only one time I can think of where a person really fired up at me, and that was when I was down in the valley. A lady walked past. I was like, a lot of people were walking past. I don't think I even noticed her amongst the other people that walked past. She must have walked past, but she came back and said, "Did you take my photo?" And I legitimately said, "Maybe, I'm not sure." She goes, "Well, I don't give my permission for you to take my photo." And I said, "Well, I don't have to have your permission because this is a public place." And she said, "Well, I'm going to go and get the police." And I said, "Okay, go and get the police, because this is a footpath and you've walked past, and I'm sorry to be the bearer, but I can legally take photos of anyone here." And she just sort of, I think she shouted a couple of things off me and walked off, and she never brought the police back. But if she had, then so be it, because I was well within my rights. So I think she was probably having a bad day, and there was other issues at play, and I was the last straw, maybe. I don't know. So.
One day we went to a vintage car festival, and I was just taking photos of gestures, and it was really good just to spend your time just focus on people's gestures, because they're all so focused on the cars, and lots of people were taking photos of cars that they didn't notice that I was taking photos of them, rather than, yeah, so maybe it's sometimes finding an environment like that.
I rarely, if ever, take photos of homeless people, but the one I took with the homeless guy was sleeping on a bench, and there was a mural across the street, a very large mural on the wall, which basically echoed exactly his pose, and even the colours were similar. So I took it, and that's probably one of my favourites, because it just seemed like one of those magical moments at the time. I still remember the feeling of when I saw it, and it dawned on me that how close the two looked, and I was like, okay.
So that's about it. Hope you enjoyed. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see other street photography related videos, and let me know what you'd be interested in seeing videos about in the comments below. Otherwise, hit the bell, make sure you don't miss anything, and hit like if you got something out of the video. And I'll see you next time.